All right, so you guys know how I've been like into the I'm gonna just spend my money on cars for no reason mode. Well,
Yep.
so I gluttonly picked up a 3000 GT VR4 from my friend. It was uh, it was a good buy. I'm pretty happy with the overall thing of it. I got it for a good price, but he did a lot of stuff. He was like a Mitsu guy like me at the same levels at the same time, right? So like when he's had the car for like 15 years, 16 years, now he's moving back to, Greece where he came from. And he basically says, "Hey, look, you interested in this car?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Car's a one owner car before him. 110,000 miles, but he only in the probably limited mileage, but probably 5 or 6 years ago had upgraded to a four bolt engine because it's an early 3000 GT, so it's got 4 bolt mains. They did do a forged piston rod combination. I don't know what's in there, but had the engine built, changed to an upgraded gearbox, even though it's still a 5-speed gearbox because it's an early gearbox. Went through the car, like the car's in really great shape. So when I got, but it had been sitting for like a while, right? So get the car, been cleaning the car up and going through all the little things, make sure everything works, all the active air, all the crap, right? So now I'm at a stage where I just got the car registered, went for its first drive. I got to get this thing inspected, but this is a new venture for me because I've never been in a situation before where I've owned a car that only needs a safety only inspection.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about plugins. I don't have to worry about emissions. I don't have to. The car's old enough now. It classifies as only requiring a safety.
Yeah. So, Matt, I don't know if you're aware, but here in New York, the way it's set up is that for the first couple of years you own the vehicle, it's just a quick safety inspection in and out. And then we go to a plug-in OBD2 style
Like
inspection.
less stringent than California.
Less stringent than what you guys have.
I think pretty much everything's less stringent than California. You get the inspections, and you got to show them your feet, and you got to have fingerprints and all types of stuff, man. It's like
Isn't that part of the California revenue plan now? They take feet pictures and then they put them on that like
That's right.
feet
Feet
fetish
finder?
website.
That's
And
right.
then that's how they
Tarantino
get-
stuff.
Yeah, California's
Yeah,
California fighter.
Yeah, I mean, like all the horror stories about California, it's for modified vehicles, it's all warranted, it's all true. And I think it's not a secret.
What do you guys have to do? Like, I know you have smog and stuff like that, but like, what do your inspections kind of look like? Let's say for like a modified vehicle, like, what do you do? Like, I know some things that we would do here, but
So, well, every 2 years you get your smog check, right? You got to go to an actual station. If you've got if you're in SoCal where I am, and you've got like a '90s, 2000 era, Honda or Nissan, usually you're going to go to like a very specific station where it's very specific. We'll just say that, and it's like they put you on their little roller dyno and the whole thing. Um, if you have any modifications, though, you're pretty much going to fail. So
Do you,
yeah, I
so
mean,
what do you
can
have to
like
do? Put your car back to stock?
yeah, you got to put it back to stock if you want to pass legitimately.
do you remember when we had the IM240 with the dynos back in the day here in New York? I'm sure you
You're
remember
talking
when
about
you
regular emissions.
Yeah, for when we
Yeah.
had emissions what was that, pre 2000 something, we had like, you'd have to run them on the rollers, you have to follow like the graph on the screen,
Yeah,
and
but
that
that
would
was
be
that
the-
was that was a standard state emissions inspection. Then
Yeah.
they cleared through that, and then they went to an OBD2 readiness monitor test. So then now they just, for most vehicles, they plug in, they check
Yep.
all the readiness monitors, and then depending on what your year is, you're allowed to have certain ones incomplete. Like,
Yeah, not readies
I
and
think
stuff like
before 2006, I think you're allowed 2 incompletes, and then after 2006, I think you're
Yep,
allowed one
one.
incomplete.
that. And then now it's no incompletes for the newest cars.
Yeah, something
Everything
to that
has to be
effect.
ready.
So you guys go to this. So you basically are left with a situation. I mean, like obviously around here, still technically, they're gonna go through like you have to have catalytic converters. You gotta have
Yes,
like
right.
no one's touching that. You gotta have the catalytic converters. You gotta have emissions devices. There's not gonna be they're doing the look through, but they're not. I don't think they're nearly doing the California stuff. And the whole smog thing. That's basically it's still just an emissions test, right? It's a rolling test.
It is, yeah, yeah.
They do that for new cars too, though, because or you guys.
No, I believe with new cars you have I think it's 5 years before you're first to smog. My vehicle, I had like a completely stock accurate TL, just lowered with wheels, and the guy just wouldn't wouldn't believe me that it was stock, and he put it on there. And even before he was testing, he was looking around for stuff. And I was like, it's 100% stock. And he got underneath, looked for the cat, and made sure everything was on there. I'm like, it's 100% stock, and it passed no problem. But he was like, there's no way the car's stock. So he really dug into the engine bay and stuff, and I was like, I'm telling you, it's 100% stock.
What's crazy to me though is, do these guys work for the state or are they their own? I thought they were their own like smog shops, right?
I don't know actually. I'm not sure.
Because like I know in Las Vegas and stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
you'll go and you'll see they do smog too, right? They have like these. I've seen them, like you're cruising through and like there's these weird buildings, like almost just in the parking lots of like almost like standalone like weird buildings, and it would just say smog, and you're like, and I don't know if there's smog checks or like you can check like a place for you to go before you would go for an inspection to make sure you don't fail. I don't know what they are, but I've seen them as I've been cruising through randomly, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Max
What?
put one up. It looks just like this.
What is that?
I'm telling you, the first time I saw one of those, I was like, what is this? Right?
It's
But Matt,
sketchy.
like, I know you can't see it, but like
No.
it's like this. It's like this. It almost looks like it should be a smoke shop.
it
Right?
looks like a drive-through barista
Well,
stand.
I can tell you the one that I go to, the one that my wife and I use now that's local to us. It's
Yeah.
literally like the size of one car garage. It looks like Aki's garage, right? Like Keep Kind of
Yeah,
garage.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like a very very small. There's just the dyno. There's a bunch of manuals on the wall. Super old CRT monitor computer, and then
Yeah.
you just go in there. You're in and out in like 10 minutes.
So now what
Um,
happens though? Like that's the entire inspection, right?
yep,
All
yep.
right, cool. So then they don't do any safety stuff, right? They're not pulling brakes off,
No,
wheels off.
no, no, no,
So
no,
what's
no.
so way to go, California. Worry about the emissions. Don't care
Uh,
about the fact that people are actually driving these things.
Well, that's
right.
what's crazy is because here it's a safety inspection and an emissions inspection annually. He's even saying that smog is only every 2 years for them.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? You
Yep.
said smog's only
Yep.
2 years. So we're actually testing more often and we're looking for actual things that are wrong on the vehicle aside from just,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
the
I didn't know
catalytic
it was that.
efficiency.
Yeah, I don't know it was that stringent over there.
Yeah,
And then you have like places like Florida where it's a lot more relaxed. You can get away with a lot more.
because you don't have to do
Um,
anything, right?
yeah, yeah.
A
You
lot
can
of
modify whatever you want.
And Vermont, I don't even think Vermont has, like, I don't think. No, wait, they do have inspections. It's Montana, I think, that does no vehicle
so
inspections.
we were looking. There's a lot of the Midwestern states are really big into the no inspections.
Smart.
Oklahoma got away. They used to do a safety inspection, then they stopped doing it because they saw like that it was not. I guess more likely wasn't lucrative anymore because when you used to look over vehicles for safety inspections, you'd find stuff ball joints blown
Yeah,
out.
that's
things
how
like
you
that.
made your money.
You
That's
You
why
don't
they
see
charge
that
you.
anymore. Like
Right.
the amount of that failure rate has gone down so dramatically that as far as like making money from being able to
Right.
sell work based on doing inspections has fallen off dramatically.
Well, and I know for like in New York here, like there's this big thing, right? Because when you start thinking about these inspection stations, so none of the inspection stations are state owned. They're all independent repair facilities, like regular, gas station type repair shops that basically have purchased from the state these abilities to get inspectors' licenses and be able to inspect vehicles. And the idea here is you pay $37, which I believe goes to the state. I don't even think it
Yep,
goes to
goes
the
right to
inspector.
the state. Doesn't even stay at
So you
the
pay
shop.
like $37. You go get your inspection once a year, and the idea there is when everything they find is wrong, they're going to be able to sell you that job to repair it, and that's how they make
Right.
their money. But now,
Yeah.
like you're having so many people that they don't. The fines have gotten so ridiculous for some of these inspectors if they miss something, if they're quote unquote helping somebody pass, but like. It's not easy to help somebody pass anymore,
No.
right? So because of that, you just have all these stations that are now like, I don't even want it. Like,
Yeah, a lot
take
of
it
them
away.
moved
It's
away.
not
It's
worth
not
the
worth the
liability.
headache.
You know what I mean?
But like we're talking about mostly stock cars right now. But in terms of a modified vehicle, if it has like a CARB compliant number on it, let's say like a Comtech supercharger or
Nobody
I don't know.
checks.
Okay, just curious.
We
Yeah.
don't check for. They don't check for CARB. CARB is not a thing here. They don't really care. California, you're your own island. But the one what listen, I think in the state, you tell me if you think I'm wrong. In New York State, if you have a catalytic converter and clearly, if you have catalytic converter, really is the bulk of it, and your windows don't have tint because that's another weird
Oh
one.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the big thing here.
and and your car does pass OBD. They plug in, everything seems to be in working order and different things like that. They're not looking for this highly modified stuff. Then they don't. You really don't have too much of an issue, because at that point, by basis of their test, you are, you know, kind of compliant to what they need.
So there is
Yeah.
only one thing I
Yeah.
want to add to that. The one change that they had made recently within like the past decade or so in New York, if your vehicle is California CARB compliant, like as in 50 state compliant, the catalytic converters that go back onto the vehicle, God forbid you have a cat failure, have to still be California compliant catalytic converters.
That doesn't. I don't think that matters though.
Well, they will have failures on the emissions testing because of it. It will
Well,
actually fail
and
that.
so that's what I was going to say, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's that New York State even had to do that, because the truth is, back in 2004, I had a brand new Accord. Well, I mean, not brand new, but I had a 2004 Accord, right? Mm-hmm. And when it was time and the catalytic converter went and I had to put a new cat in, I bought one. I'm in New York. I didn't think anything of getting a California compliant exhaust, but
Right.
so I couldn't. So I put this catalytic converter in, could get the light off. And I'm like, I don't understand. It's a brand new catalytic converter.
Yep.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, I had to go get an OE cat, because of the fact that, like, nothing. It's so sensitive. Nothing would shut this light off. Nothing.
Jeez. Yeah.
So the cars themselves are just so ultra sensitive. And look, I know people are going to listen to this and be like, "Well, all you have to do is wire in the resistor between this and yeah." We
That's
get that.
exactly what I was going to say.
We get
That's what
that,
they were going
but
to tell you.
You don't say stuff like that on podcasts,
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
I
There's no
don't-
such
If you
thing.
say so, I'll believe
But
you.
I'm just saying that, like, I had, you have to do the right thing. I had to go get
Yep.
an actual California compliant, CARB cat to be able to get the light to turn off. It just was so sensitive, and they're just looking for such a specific delay in response.
Yep.
So it's interesting, but it's hard, because, like, as you start to get more of these cars. Like, for me, I just want to buy the oldest cars ever, because I do not want to deal with this stuff. Could you imagine, for me, the more, like, I worry for my Z, right? Like, I worry for my Z. It's, it's been twin turboed, different things like that. It still plugs in, it still passes. Like, the car is not, one of those. It's done tastefully. It's not done with, like, let's just remove everything emission wise is there. But, as it gets older, the states are not giving you the ability to tune these cars, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's where I think the failure comes in, and I was having a conversation with Vinny 10, like, a couple years ago, and we were talking about this. As carbureted cars and some of the cars that had, like, points and rotors and different things like that, distributors and stuff like that, those parts wear. And as they wear, they need to be adjusted, right? It was no different than back in the day when we used to adjust, valve lash and stuff like that. Now they're making the assumption that these new cars will never have to be adjusted. They can't ever be recalibrated. And I think that ultimately one day, if internal combustion engines, continue to go on, I think that's going to ultimately be a failure. Because the assumption is that nothing wears out and you just keep replacing oxygen sensors in these fail parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's still room there to make things more efficient. Let me put it this way, because I can see you're pondering this thought. Don't tell me for 1 second that if you had a stock 92 Civic and you put in an aftermarket ECU, that you couldn't make that car
100%.
faster and more efficient than it came from the factory.
So there's three.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
there are no stock 92 Civics, but I understand.
I like where you're going with this, but they don't exist. No, actually, I have three things that I can subscribe to this. I know that there was a thing back in the day, and you're in California, so you could speak to this more. But I could have sworn there was like a D Sport or a Super Street where they took older car, modern engine, and California was a lot more lax with that because the engine's efficiency and the way that it ran and the way it operated allowed it to get through inspection without.
So
They
the
did the
rule
out-
the rule is if you want to do an engine swap, the rule is it has to be
CARB compliant,
the
right?
engine has to be the same year of the vehicle or newer. So
Okay.
if you have a 2000 Civic, you can't put like a 92 B series in there and expect it to pass. It's got to be 2000 or above.
Right.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
But what's interesting is like if the podcast that I got crucified on with Doug from Honda, the one where we talked about the L swap and how the L swap was so cool
Yeah.
for the fact,
Right.
because
I still think it's good for a daily driver,
Every time
but-
I get taken out of context for this, the L swap is so cool for the fact that it is a CARB compliant swap. So in other words,
Right.
Max, cut that part out.
yeah, so they got it approved so that you could take the Honda, the Honda ECU, this engine, put it into a different vehicle, and it was a CARB compliant configuration that was approved.
Right.
So if you had, let's say, a quote unquote Miata, stock Miata, NA Miata that was making like no power, and you put this thing in, now this thing is able to make, probably 80 more horsepower than it came from the factory. Doug's kind of example was, in a CRZ. They take out
Yeah.
that crap in the CRZ, and they put this thing in. It's CARB compliant, and now all of a sudden, you have a car that's 80 or 90 more horse, but it's easily, you can find these things anywhere because nobody really wants the L series, right? That's the part I was trying to get through to these people, but I got roasted. Like
We're gonna do them again.
Yeah.
So the other two
That
points,
tracks.
that I wanted to touch on with that was, they think that closed loop will correct for that. So the engineer's logic is closed loop is going to solve all of these problems. Now, don't get me wrong, does it? No, but the car is going to know if there's a problem or if it's outside of calibration or corrections too far out. It's going to tell you that there's a problem, throw the check engine light on, you need to repair it, and then it will correct again. So that's where I think the logic lies in that. And to your point, my final point of that was you're 100% right. You put a AM Infinity inside one of these cars and you tune it, you can lean out your mixtures and therefore you're not producing as much hydrocarbon. And then if you have an efficient cat, you can cut out NOx and things like that, where you're able to bring the vehicle into compliance a lot more easily than you were to say with like what you had with an old ECU from back in the day where it was just a flash, chip.
Yeah, it was like the equivalent of using like an Atari.
So 100, yeah.
Car.
Well, like for you, Scott, you built a lot of cars over the years, and some of them like very, very heavily modified. Did you have any issues with getting those to pass? I mean, you mentioned having a cat was like, you need a cat on there, and then the safety stuff you pass.
So
were you able to still pass?
I think
Like
it
with,
depends at which level. Like when I had some of the stuff that we were really using for the race stuff. I mean, that was
Yeah.
way back when. The inspection was different. It was like he said, it was a rolling test, right? So because of that, they still used an emissions plug-in type test where really had a lot to do with was your car emissions compliant? It had nothing. They weren't looking for all the modifications as much as they were looking for
They just
what
sucked
came
a
out the
tailpipe sniffer in and then just
Right.
ran it.
There are modified vehicles that are able to float
Pass.
around in the street because they're they've been barred. We call it barring. So basically, if you do an engine swap, for example, into a Honda, it's an engine that's the same year or newer, like I mentioned, and all the emissions equipment's there, the cat's there, the O2, everything's the way it should be. You can actually get a little sticker that signifies that the swap is legitimate. When you get pulled over, you don't get a ticket for it. So I did that many, many years ago with a GSR swap into a fifth gen Civic hatchback. It took me a little while to get all the emission stuff hooked up, get it all situated, and then I made an appointment. I went in, super nervous. The guy was like a military guy. He was like just no nonsense. He's like, do this, do this, do this. I got the car in there, and then it passed, no problem. And afterward, he was super nice afterwards. He's like, you did a great job. Everything passes. You're good. Gave me my little sticker. I think maybe, I don't know, within like maybe 2 months or so, I did get pulled over for modified exhaust. But, I had that sticker, so I was good there. I had a CARB compliant intake and header, and then I think I just got the exhaust ticket. It was fixed.
So was the exhaust ticket because of the noise, the decibel level? Because in New York, for instance, we can't have anything
well, it was-
louder than stock, quote unquote.
Yeah, I don't remember what the decibel limit was. He didn't have a meter, but back then it didn't matter. They just write you a ticket regardless.
Well,
Yep.
So I didn't mind taking. I took the exhaust off, swapped it out, got it signed off.
It's just wild though, because when I hear stories of that, the only thing I can think of is that one crazy viral video that went nuts, where that one cop basically sent that kid with the Elantra N to the state ref.
Oh yeah, I remember that one because
And I was
the race
thinking,
mode.
yeah, and I'm thinking to myself like that cop like straight up took it out. The car was legitimately bone stock. That guy took everything out on this kid for, using something that came with the car that he bought. Took it out on this dude, and then like straight up what? How can these other cars can get bar stickers and the car is just worth the lot that they approved? Like the whole thing's just
Yeah, I don't
really
know
weird.
whatever happened with that. Did that guy get out of that
I
whole
don't
thing?
know.
I don't know if there was an ending to that.
I
Max, do you have an
read-
update on that? He got out of it. Max just said he got out of it.
Yeah, but it took him
Okay.
like a really long time, and I remember that because it was months later, and the kid was still like not able to drive his car, and then he was fighting with the dealership to try to
That's so
give him his money
ridiculous.
back, and like
Yeah, I mean, there's situations like that though, like where the cop will come up with something that will make you work, right? So I can recall getting ticketed for a bunch of stuff, too low exhaust, all that stuff, and one of the things on the ticket was over $1,000 in modifications has to be registered with the DMV. I had never heard of that before, and I was like, this is crazy. I don't know what this is. I made an appointment with the DMV, and I go in there, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I showed them the ticket. They're like, that's not a thing." So then I had to go to court, traffic court, and then showed them the ticket, and then they're like, "Well, that doesn't exist," so it got thrown out. But I lost a day of work. It
well,
was like,
shouldn't he be written up for that? Like
I would think,
I would think,
so.
like,
Yeah,
listen, I mean, let's call a horse here. This is crazy. So
yeah,
then,
it was crazy.
so here's, I will tell you something that I think
Nothing wrong with the car.
we have. Are you guys like? No, you can't be because California, you're allowed tint, right? Because it's so hot there.
So I don't know what the number limit is, but the back three can be tinted. I don't know what the
Oh, you can't do
percentage
the
is.
sides,
You
the
can do the
fronts.
sides of the front, yeah, yeah.
So
Mine are like on my daily driver. I did them, a little bit lighter because it's hot,
right.
So
Well, yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, like, what's interesting is like in New York, tint really became a big deal in the
yeah.
last, 10 years.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's even less than that.
But it's crazy because like to me, so I'll tell you one experience that sticks with me. I think I said this. I've told you this story before. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe.
So one time I get
Maybe I
pulled
didn't.
over, and I'm in the passenger seat. It's my friend's car. He's driving, and we get pulled over, and it's got to be like, I don't know, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. The cop comes up, and he's already on an 11. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't even know what happens. Like we didn't do. It's not like we were whatever. So he pulls us over, and he comes up to the window, and he says to the kid, "License registration." The kid's like, "Sure, no problem." And he goes to get it for him, and he's like, "So you know why I pulled you over?" Obviously, he's like, "Actually, sir, I don't." He goes, "This is tint." He goes, "If I can't see you, how am I supposed to know if you're carrying weapons in the car?" And he's like, like I don't think it's an answer. It's a question that should ever be asked to get an answer, right? Because it's like stupid.
It's one of those
a little
ones
bit.
you just don't answer. You just say, uh-huh.
So like I mean, like if you had weapons in the car while he's driving by, you would just be keeping them up in view, right? Like people don't do that. Like so then he gives the kid a hard time. My friend a hard time. Takes his license registration, comes back, and when he comes back with a thing, he says you're not allowed to have tint on your car that's darker than whatever. This is crazy. And the kid's like, look, I didn't even know. I didn't buy this. I bought this car like this, and I really didn't know. And he's like, you have to remove the tint. And he's like, all right, no problem. Like, I'll get it done. And he's like, you're right. And he hands him a razor blade.
And peels it right off the window.
And he tells him to start taking the tint off.
Which is not hard at all, right?
Nope.
Well,
With a razor blade.
oh my God, it was a nightmare.
Sticky.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel like I want to like say something, but like I don't really know what I can say, So like I'm like, sir, you really want him to like scrape this off? He's like, he's not allowed. It's illegal. Get it off. And he's now scraping the front windows. Like you're getting streaks off, like a little piece here, then a big piece here. I mean, it looks terrible. I can hear the glass scratching. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
he like kind of gets whatever, and the cop like he's not even done. It's probably like 25% tint left on the car and random pieces on the window. And he goes, all right, now the back. And I'm like, oh my God, this cop's gonna really make him take all the tint off.
Dude.
Then he goes to the back, same kind of thing, scratching the glass and stuff. And now he like kind of looks at the cop, and the cop's like, he's like, it's not done yet. You got more windows. And like he goes to like the back windshield, and the cop must have got a call, and he's like, you better get this fixed. Next time I see it, or whatever. And he like leaves, and my friend's like, whatever, like he's like freaking out. He's like, what am I gonna do with this? Like the glass was incredibly scratched. It's just, and I remember thinking like, this is crazy.
There's probably, to this day, there's probably still sticky crap left on the guy's on the inside of his window. Like,
Yeah.
To this day, I
Yeah.
would imagine.
I
Yeah.
I
That's crazy.
fantasize about the states though that either don't have annual inspections or like legitimately are doing it in stride because it really is one of those things. I'm not talking about like first off, I want to say this because I believe that you can make every car fast now with a catalytic converter.
100%.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't see that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having emissions regulations. I think it's totally fine. Where I struggle is put up a standard that has to be followed and let us know what it is, right? If
Right.
you're going to put up these emissions things, like I'm a strong believer in these shops. When you say no tuning, nobody can tune. I'm a strong believer in, listen, make these shops go for a kind of a tune certification license or something where they pay to the state, where they basically are saying that when every car gets tuned, it's going to leave here at least at these efficiency levels.
Correct.
Because the truth is, I really believe that with today's technology, most of the cars will actually see an improvement. And I think that it's a way of you maybe taking cars that are older that maybe are even exempt and saying, hey, look, you can put these high flow cats on them. When they left the shop, we gave it the sticker. It's good.
Right.
Everything's good. Yes, we makes a lot more power, but we complied with every single regulations emission-wise that you needed to comply with, and we still have the ability to do things the right way. And I think that that's such an important piece that these states are just missing out on.
Yep. No, it would be very optimal to be able to have the tuners and the states work together to establish like a guideline across the board. And that way you wouldn't stifle the innovation that you're getting out of the tuning companies and you're getting out of like the guys like, CARB and UpRev and all those
Yeah,
guys.
but they don't give a shit about that.
I know, but it still, it hurts business. At the end of the day, that is still a business and
They
it still
don't
sells.
care about those people.
I know.
A nice little hustle.
Yeah.
It is a nice little hustle. Well, look, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's crazy. I mean, so before we wrap this thing up, what are the states that you feel are like the best to be a car owner in? And what are the states that we know which one's the worst.
Well, are we talking about? Are we talking strictly based on the
What,
testing and
emissions?
emissions and all
No.
that?
Let's just do it as a total car friendly state. Because I know there's states like Connecticut and stuff. You can't have tires that exceed the width of the body. So there goes your off-roading stuff. I know that there's been a lot of states now that have adopted that whole thing with the slant trucks and the big wheels and all the, what do they call them?
What? The
Bros.
squat trucks,
The squat
squatters.
trucks.
Squatters.
And then lately, what's been happening to us, which I think is a real darn shame, but I totally understand it, is like Connecticut and stuff like that. They've started to ban the registration of those key trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's because
Yeah.
when you slam on the brakes hard enough, they just fall over. They just go end over end, right? So I get that, but I kind of want one. So what are the states that are the most friendly?
So
I would think just off the top of my head, just based on
Yeah.
what I see like on YouTube and stuff,
Yeah.
Arizona, Florida, for sure those two, and I think Texas. That's
Okay.
would be my guess. Would be the better ones
I
in terms of being lenient.
I think Vermont and Montana are right there with you.
I was going to go Montana. Actually, that's
What
exactly
about
where my
Oklahoma?
brain
Isn't
went too.
Oklahoma a no inspection state too?
I
Or
think
no?
Oklahoma, they got rid of their inspections. They used to have them, and then they eventually got rid of them. So
Man.
Oklahoma's up there too, where they're
There's
getting
real
rid of a
estate
lot
to
of
be
their
had
stuff.
in these fens, both. Let's
But
go
you
to
are starting to see where some of the metropolitan areas in those states, even though they're rural, like Texas and stuff, they're starting to actually implement emissions testing. So you got to be careful where you go.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get at it crazy. So all right. So that's what we think. Is there any other states you guys think are are really good states? We know Florida's pretty good. Any other states you can think of off the top of your head?
I would say most
Alabama,
places
maybe?
in like, the Midwest, right?
He just
The
picked that
Midwest.
one.
I picked Alabama just for fun.
You just did that because it was in the South, and you.
I had to put a
they
South.
don't care. Which good. All right. So look, if for the people that are out there, let us know if you think you have a better state to own a vehicle in and kind of be in a car friendly state. And if you think you found something worse than California and New York, I double dog dare you to list down and tell us why.
What about people in other countries? We didn't even talk about that. Let us
don't
know what other countries are like.
That's true,
Because
yeah.
that's a whole different ballgame. Because we're talking
right.
just on a state level. What about on the actual country level?
listen, I think Greece is already running on olive oil. I don't think that there's anything that they need to worry about. But it's interesting. I'm curious to hear what people have to say.
Me too.
All right. That's it for this one. We will catch y'all on the next one.
All right. Peace
All right.
out.
See ya.